What up, y'all? Today's episode is brought to you by RV Fix. Let's walk through a quick scenario. You're on your RV trip that you've been planning for months and bam, something goes wrong. Slide won't move, fridge quits, the power's out. Now, instead of cracking open a cold one, it's fixing time. Total buzzkill, right? That's where RV Fix comes in. Call 1-844-66-RV-FIX and get connected via video call with a master RV technician. No middlemen, no dealership runaround, just real help, fast. And over 40% of these issues are fixed on the first phone call. If it's more serious, we've got you. We'll order parts and get warranty approval within hours, not weeks. Then we can either ship the parts to you and walk you through the fix on a second video call, send a mobile tech from our 2,000 plus tech network, or have you drop it off at the dealership once everything's ready to roll. And even better, you get to keep your rig during this whole process. No more waiting 4 to 6 weeks for basic repairs. With RV Fix, most shop fixes are done in just 3 days. Skip the stress, call RV Fix, and get back to camping, relaxing, and making memories. Use promo code RVVoice at checkout to get a 60% discount and lock in your price for years to come. Learn more at rvfix.com. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Alrighty, welcome to another episode of the RV Voice, and aloha. You'll understand why here in about 2 seconds. But anyway, today we're talking to a full-timer just about on this month, their 1 year nomad anniversary. I just found that that's actually a word in the nomad community, but it's pretty sweet. They're traveling in a 2024 open range Highland Ridge 371 mid-bunk. They got themselves and then 2 kiddos. Sorry, my collar wasn't popped. Looked like a bum. But anyway, 3 kids, and they chose to do a mid-bunk. A lot of these people that are in the full-time community do the toy hauler route. But, and buying a big old dually truck isn't always the best thing for a lot of reasons because they're huge and they're just not very mobile. Yes, they do haul big things, but anyway, welcome, Taylor and Clint Smith. Actually, Clint is playing defense today with the kids, so I got Taylor. And Taylor, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background? One, thank you for being here. Absolutely lovely. And then what's your background of, going into the, what's your background? Because you always tell me aloha. Let's start there.
All right. So we'll go pre-RV. All right. So my husband and I met in Maui. So we lived there total. He was there 17 years. I was there 12 years. We met, married, had our first 2 kids in Maui. So hence the aloha. We moved to the mainland about 7 years ago. Yeah. So we moved to the mainland 7 years ago. So I still have the aloha, as my main greeting.
Very nice. It's like, my buddy, my best friend from college, the Mexican family. Every time he answers his phone, bueno. It's not hi, not hola, bueno. I'm like, all right, well, I guess it goes around. But anyway, so 1 year, coming on your 1 year nomad anniversary. Big word. Personal journey. What was your personal journey? What inspired you to transition into the full-time RV life? And I guess, can you share your whole story of how it all got started?
Yeah. So funny enough, as you were mentioning Maui, I realized that our RV story actually started before I thought that it did. I was going to say April 2022, which I'll get into why that date's important. But further back, we moved to the mainland, but then we went back to Maui to visit. And so we were back in Maui. We moved here in 2018 to the mainland. We went back home, quote unquote, in 2019. And we were visiting some friends who had, get this, bought a 5th wheel, shipped it from Washington State to Maui. There are no RVs on the island of Maui, except for vans, van life, van weekender, that's there. They shipped a 5th wheel. Don't know how expensive it was. And they bought a plot of land. And while we were visiting for that summer, they invited us over, us not knowing where they were living. They just said, hey, we moved, you should come over. So we show up and I was like blown away. I thought it was the coolest thing. I had never been in, my grandpa had a motorhome growing up, but like I hadn't been in a motorhome or any kind of RV for probably like 25 years. So it was the coolest thing. I thought, like, they only had 1 daughter at the time, but they had a super cool like dual suite. I can't even remember what brand it was, and they were landscapers by trade. So get this, they like built a fence around the side of the RV, and they had like landscaping on the inside, and like they had built a deck, and I was like, this is it. This is cool. Families can do this.
This is it. I can change my house in a couple days.
Like they did what was pretty cool. It only lasted sadly a year because their neighbor made such a ruckus to the county that they got booted off, and they had to go through permitting and all that. But yeah, that was the first time I'd seen a family full-time living in one. Obviously they were stationary, but I was like, interesting. I must have filed that away subconsciously. But I feel like our like origin story came, we liked to tent camp. My family have always had RVs, my aunt, my uncle, my grandpa, and we just tent camped during the season here in Florida that you can tent camp when, it's not too buggy, not too hot. And so April 2022, we had booked a camping trip with my aunt and my uncle. They have a little travel trailer, and we were going to tent camp. And I was like, you know what? At the time, our youngest, who's 4 now, was 1, and I'm like, I really don't want to tent camp with a 1-year-old who is going to wake up with like, I don't think we can go with you. And we had some really good friends, and you'll see why they were such good friends in a second. They basically had been in the breeze mentioning to me, if you ever want to borrow our little RV we just got, if you ever want to borrow it. So I'm like, you want to lend it to me? So I had somebody lend me a 2021 in April of 2022, brand new J Feather 21-foot little travel trailer, and we had never hauled anything before. And I know you've heard that from a lot of people, right? Like, I didn't know before. I don't think Clint had even ever towed like a boat, like nothing. So we went over to her house, and she showed us how to do it, and it was like so easy. It's such a great weekend. And I had been kind of like putting little, like, we should get a little RV, we should get an RV, and it's different when you've experienced it. So on the drive home from that trip, my husband was like, how much are these things? And I was like, $9,000. Like, I already had it. Like, I already knew exactly how much she paid for it. And he was like, okay, well, maybe we can like think about that. So that was April 2022. We bought a travel trailer in June of 2022.
That was quick.
Yeah, we found one, not as small as that one because we have 3 kids. But yeah, so we had a, what did we have? We had a cruiser RV MPG bunkhouse. It's like a quad bunk, 28-footer. So it was like a 2-bedroom hotel on wheels, really. And we didn't feel like we were camping. We felt like we were glamping, but it was good. That was like the introduction. We had that for 2 years. Yeah, 2 years. And I think it started to change in our head from like weekend warrior to maybe we can do this a little bit more, because one of the trips we had, we went down to the Keys, and then on our way back, we stopped at a state park, and we loved it. And we kind of didn't want to go home, but we're kind of unique where we already homeschooled and Clint already worked remotely. So on that trip, we were like, could we just stay for another week? And we asked the state park, and they had availability, and he had already brought his laptop with him. So we were like, okay, let's maybe try to do this. So I would play defense and like take the kids out sightseeing while he had calls or he needed to work. And then we worked around the baby's nap time. And like when we got home from that, should have been 1-week trip, but turned into a 2-week trip. We were like, could we like do this like full time? Like maybe this is possible. And so let's see, from that point, gosh, that was the summer of 23. We went to the Tampa show in 24. That's what it was. We went to the Tampa show in 24. We looked at full-time rigs. We knew we wanted a 5th wheel, and we didn't buy at the Tampa show, but I think we bought a couple months later. I think February of 24, we found the rig we wanted. And I told you when I met you in Tampa that we almost we almost flew all the way to Bish's, because Bish's was on our radar. And you guys had super simple, but like very similar to what we wanted. I think we just wanted an excuse to fly to Idaho, honestly.
It's a great spot. It's a great spot. So I moved here.
Found one in Alabama, actually, at like a family-owned dealership. So we drove from Central Florida to Alabama, bought it in February of 24, and moved into it March 24.
Wow. So I had a little bit of a precursor moments and like some like you said, subconscious thoughts. Didn't even think about it. And it was just kind of like, oh, well, that's cool. And then it kind of stuck there. And then you got a lend one stuck there. And then you bought one. So what'd you do with the cruiser? Did you trade it in?
Yeah, so no, we sold the cruiser. We were so lucky. I tell people now, like, you've got to check, when you buy a used camper or even a new RV, you've got to have it, inspected. And I tell all the things, but we knew nothing. So we bought it cash from a guy off of Marketplace. I think, like, we drove to Orlando and bought it off of a guy, and he took impeccable care of it. He had records. Like, he was very similar to Clint, because Clint does the same thing with ours. So we sold that for cash, put that towards a new one. And actually did it backwards. We actually found the exact mid bunk we wanted. We drove to Alabama and bought it. And then the next month, I think we sold the travel trailer. Yeah.
Wait, you did it quick? You had
the
travel trailer for a month?
No. We had the travel trailer for 2 years.
Oh.
Yeah. So we bought the travel trailer in 2022, June of 2022, I think it was. And then we didn't sell that until we bought the fifth wheel in February of 24. And I think like sometime mid-March, I know we were living in the fifth wheel when we were showing the travel trailer.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes more sense. All right.
Yeah.
Well, interesting. So it kind of was, like you said, almost like predecessor, and you did kind of do a little practice run of your 2-week trial, 1 to 2 weeks, 1 into 2 weeks. So that kind of gave you an idea of the whole idea of the life. And you're like, you know what? We might be able to actually do this. You were already homeschooling because you almost, if you were to make a pre-built package of someone that's meant for full timing, you're almost there. Right? You were just like that. You were like in the package, like pull it out of the package, ready to go. Hot Wheels, Barbie doll type car thing, like ready to go.
Yeah. I kind of wish to be honest with you, like it would have been pretty cool to do it a year or two before, but say lovey.
Yeah, life happens, right? But anyway, it's not exactly the easiest thing to like prepare to do that and planning to go that because you had. How long did you have your house in Florida before you started the idea?
So we actually moved houses too, which added more stress. So when we bought the travel trailer, we're living in the first house we ever bought in 2020. We got the travel trailer in 2022. So we lived there for a few years. We actually, while we had the travel trailer and we were just like weekend warrior camping, we moved to a new house that we hated, probably because subconsciously I wanted to live in an RV. But we hated it. Yeah, it was, I don't know. We hated that house. It was horrible. So we tried to sell that house, which when you get to the finances section, we'll delve into that. But so we were living in the house we were living in for almost like 2 years. We were in there for 2 years. But I will say we were pretty minimalist. Like we didn't, when you move from Hawaii, it's by weight and by volume. So we didn't bring a lot to Florida to begin with. And then we didn't really like fill the house up. It's not like we lived in the same place for like, 10 years. So we didn't have a ton. I sold everything. I think it was Ben and Erica Grimm said Erica sold anything that wasn't nailed down. Like
basically,
that was pretty much me. Like kids to grandma's for the weekend. And when they came back, they're like, hey, where'd our bunk bed go? I'm like, we're moving in the RV. We don't need that anymore. Like we got rid of most of everything. Yeah.
Very nice. So I guess what other steps did you take to prepare for full-time life? Because you were, like you said, you were already fit for it. And then how did you go about choosing that first RV, as in not the travel trailer, the mid-bunk, the 371? How did you go about that? Because it's different because you were housing, right? And then it was it's a whole new world when you step into the RV world, right? Okay, floor plan's different. You got hundreds of manufacturers. You don't know exactly which way to go. Then you got to deal with dealers. So how did you go about that? And what steps did you take to prepare for full-time life?
Yeah. So we watched pretty much every video on every family sized fifth wheel that Josh had at the time.
Oh, yeah.
We've memorized it all, and a lot of other videos too. Like, we watched pretty much everybody. and took all of the Matterport views and the tours. And then we went to the Tampa show. So I always highly encourage people to try to go to a big show. I mean, we went to local, like we went to a Daytona show. We went to one in Ocala, Florida. Nothing compares, in my opinion, to the Tampa show. Or going to really big dealerships. Of course, then of course you have to deal with dealerships, but we sat in a lot of rigs. Like I would probably say that first year we ever went to the Tampa show, we didn't bring the kids. It was just he and I. We went for 2 out of the 3-day pass you could get at the time, and I think we went into like 75 different rigs. And we would like sit in them. He would go into wherever the like desk was set up, the office, and he would like pretend like he was like, is it ergonomic? Is it out? Close all the doors. Hey, can you hear me? Like just tried to test out all the different things about an RV. We did know a couple of things from the travel trailer that we learned. We definitely knew that we needed to have at least that much distance between us. We had a 28 footer. And so we're like, okay, we know we need at least 10 more feet. Like we could tell just space wise with our family, we knew about what size we needed. Because you said most families that have more than 2 kids don't usually choose the mid bunk. It was really important to me that our 10-year-old, our oldest, had like autonomy, because he's neater than the other kids. He likes to read. He gets to stay up later, so having a loft, that was big enough for him was kind of a big thing. We're really into cooking at home. And so I needed like the residential fridge. I wanted a 4-burn stove. We actually ended up with a 3-burner, but we had some like non-negotiables, and then we had some like, whatever. We'd like that. Wouldn't like that. Like for a family, we love family movie nights, and we like to all like snuggle up together and be on a couch. So anything just had 2 theater seats for the living room wasn't going to work for us. We needed like the full sofa experience and then the theater seats as well. So, but yeah, I think we just went into a lot of rigs, and the ones that we couldn't go into, because they weren't close to where we were located, we took the Matterport tours and like immersed ourselves in what the 3-dimensional, tour would give us. And then I actually started going on Instagram and using Instagram as like a browser. And I searched hashtags that I thought would work, because I didn't follow a ton of full-time families at the time. And I would like put in mid-bunk or 3 kids RV or something. And so I found an account, which is hilarious now to me because we're friends in real life, but living light, loving life. And they have the exact same model that we have, but a few years older. Now they only have 2 kids, so they set it up differently. But I actually reached out to her and I was like, hey, this is weird. I don't know you, but like, how do you like your model? We're thinking about going up to Alabama to potentially get one. And she just gushed about it and said, she hadn't had any major issues and it was great for her family. And they've been into it for X amount of years at that time. And so I'm like, okay, well, we'll see. And then we drove to Alabama to check it out.
Wow. Okay. So like the idea of, how did I say this? You went to shows, you started there, you did a lot at the Tampa RV show, big show, you get at the Hershey show. There's another one. I can't remember exactly. Is it Courtside? Is Courtside an actual show? I'm not 100% sure.
I know it's more of a vendor show, but I don't know if they have as many like actual rigs, but Hershey does. Yeah.
Yeah. Hershey's a big one. But then you started doing the Matterport stuff. If you guys don't know what a Matterport is, you search. It's basically a 3D walkthrough, and then it has a lot of times they have little buttons and stuff of like, what's this? It'll show you a picture of it opened or closed or whatever. Had to build a lot of those last year, but they're fun. They're cool. Looking at RVs is probably your biggest piece of advice. Just look, do your research. Is there any other piece of advice you'd give someone for selecting their first RV, whether it be for full timing or not?
Yeah. So if you can sit in it physically, it's obviously the best, right? Even if you have to deal with pushy dealership or whatever, if you can sit in it and think, how am I going to use this? Like if it's for camping on the weekend, that's great. Like, how am I going to if I'm camping on the weekend? If you open the refrigerator, can nobody be standing at the sink doing dishes? Like it's just simple little things like that. If you're at the dining room table, can your kids reach the sink? Like, I don't know, just get into it. Physically stand in it if you can. And all the better if you can find somebody that has a similar layout to you. Like maybe it's not the same brand or manufacturer, but if you want a toy hauler, ask some toy hauler people. Like, what do they like about the toy? What do they not? And I found, at least in my experience, that full-time families especially are wide open. Like there's no gatekeeping that I've seen in the full-time families. Like they are so helpful. And in fact, I became friends in real life with Tara from Live and Light, Live and Life, because she's like, any questions you have, I'm happy to help. Like she was genuine, you know? And there's another gal that I'm friends with now in real life, Kate Flemister. She's More Sunsets, Please. And she said they had never driven anything. She was a bus driver in a past life, but like they had never towed anything. And she's like, I didn't know anything. I didn't know one person that owned an RV. So anytime you want to call or text me, feel free. And like, I took them up on it, you know? So find people that seem approachable that you can talk to, because being in it yourself is the best case scenario, because you can feel how your family would use it. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And so I've come to find out everyone seems very open and very welcoming with the RV, within the RV community. I haven't felt you step into anything, you step on a sports team, you step into a group of people, you step into a new job, there's always cliques of some sort, right? And there probably is a little bit of clickiness at some point, but like for the most part, everyone's pretty darn welcoming with everybody, which is really cool. So that part is very, very, very interesting. And like the fact that you just said you just reached out, and that's what I've been doing. I mean, really, I mean, I just literally started. I was like, well, I literally had this grand idea right when I'm about to fall asleep. That's usually when it happens. You get all these good ideas. My mind does not shut off. It's a problem. It's a blessing and a curse, right? It works out. But I just had the idea. I was like, well, why don't we talk to people like full timers? Because one, they have an interesting life. And then I started reaching out and people just started saying yes, left and right. I mean, I've shot probably 85% from the court, maybe 80, which is pretty sweet. And I even have people saying yes now that told me no before, and I'm like, no, you missed your chance. I'm not salty. I want people to say yes. That's all I want. So anyway, glad you said yes.
Of course. Yeah. Oh, so and the other thing else, when we were trying to decide, which we kind of alluded to earlier, but it's like tow weight, right? Like, do you already have a truck? Do you need the truck? Everybody, for the most part, told me, which was already too late for us, like, you know, get the truck that you want for your rig. But we already had the truck and we didn't want to buy a new truck. So we were limited, you know, finances, you're limited on if you want to buy new or used, whatever your budget is. And then you're limited by tow capacity. Do you want to buy a bigger truck? Like when we had the travel trailer, we started with a Tundra, you know, and then we went to Chattanooga one time, which is the first time us Floridians ever took any hills at all. And we were like, maybe we need to get something just a smidge bigger than the Tundra. So that worked our way into our head going, well, if one day we ever want to get a fifth wheel, which again, I think we were all thinking it, but not saying it, we're probably going to need, you know, a bigger truck. So we got the F-350. Then when we bought the fifth wheel, we had to stay in the compartment of what can this guy pull, you know, and people will tell you, oh, you could pull a toy hauler. I pulled a toy hauler with that truck or this truck or whatever. But it's always, what's your comfortability? You know, how much do you want to like flub with the numbers or weigh yourself every month while you're traveling, you know?
Yeah. Towing capacity and carrying capacity are they're things that you really need to look out for. If you want to hear more about that, check out my YouTube live special event with Josh, the RV nerd, and JD from Big Trick Buggy RV. We go down and break down half-ton towability and myths of towability in general. So go ahead and watch that. It's on the YouTube right here. It'll be in the description as well. Not the actual link to the video, but check it out. But yes, that's a very big safety concern for a lot of things, right? And like, you know, especially with you guys never towing anything, you know, I grew up in a place where I did tow quite a bit. So I was comfortable. I didn't know towing capacities. I didn't know all that stuff, but I was comfortable towing basically whatever. You put it behind me. The only time I wasn't, I was on the 4010 tractor. It's a John Deere. If anyone out there listening, John Deere 4010, no cab. And I was hauling an old grain cart 4-wheel. So it had a weird knife like this. And I was going down this hill and that grain cart was full and this thing was pushing me. I couldn't slow down because that didn't have brakes and it was very bad. I was like, oh my God. I was like 12. I was like, I don't need to be writing this.
You did that.
Say it one more time. You cut out.
I about to say, and how old were you when you did that? So that's awesome.
Yeah.
You were 12.
I grew up on a farm in Nebraska. What do you do?
Yeah, you got to figure it out. Baptism by fire. You do it when you're young, then you're not scared to do it when you're older.
Yeah, that was pretty stupid though.
Did you
Anyway,
where it needed to go? That's the question. Did the grain get there?
It did. It did. It got where it's supposed to go. I got the job done. I did not die. I'm still here today, which is good. 17 years later. But anyway. All right. So you already did some things that were kind of like alluding to your full-time life. So it worked out for you, but your daily life has changed overall in general, right? So what does a typical day look like you for while RVing? And then I guess, how do you manage everyday tasks, cooking, cleaning, and laundry on the road?
Yeah. So one of the reasons why we launched is, in fact, describing how our daily life, or weekly life, I should say, goes. So before, like, we were homeschooling, so we had a lot of freedom there. However, I taught at my kids' co-op. They went to a co-op. I'm not sure if you're familiar with what that is, but like a homeschool co-op could be anywhere from taking one class. Like, if you don't want to teach your kid algebra, you could send them to a co-op for just an a la carte class. Or if you want to do a full range, like the co-op we were a part of, you could go 9 a.m. to 3 o'clock, I think it was, 2 days a week. And so I taught a health and wellness class. My kids went from 9 till 2, and that was, driving back and forth and all that. When we got on the road, it was actually a really nice break that I didn't realize I needed to just homeschool them. Like that, there wasn't a lot of places to drive back and forth to. Like, doing martial arts, they were ranking high in their belts. Like, they loved it. They were all good things we were part of. Soccer and youth group stuff at our church. But like, I loved when we got on the road, like the simplicity, like looking at the calendar and going, I don't have to be anywhere at any time. Like, we just all have to be together wherever we go. So our routine didn't change drastically. As far as like homeschooling, except for we only did it for like 2 hours, like our homeschooling. But anyways, I'll get back to laundry and stuff, because that's a great question. So sorry, I rabbit trailed.
It's all right.
So one of the things I tell people all the time is I don't know if I personally will ever be able to go back to a regular house washer dryer. Have you ever seen a washer dryer combo unit, like all together?
Oh yeah.
I know you've probably seen them in RVs, but like used a combo unit. It's like the easiest transition of never having to forget your laundry in the washing machine.
Does it just do it?
Yes. So Europeans,
that's not bad.
Europeans like, why are you Americans just catching on to this? This is what we have in Europe. But like, literally, I put my load in and I start the machine, and 3 or so hours later, it's dry. And I don't have to forget about, oh shoot, now it smells like mildew and I forgot about it or whatever. So hands down, washer and dryer, I love it way more in the RV life than the bricks and sticks life. And then I'm trying to remember what else you said. Oh, cooking and cleaning. Yeah, we've always cooked most of our meals at home. We're very like clean eater people, foodie people. So that didn't change too much, because I got what we wanted. We wanted a residential fridge and a big stove and my outdoor grill. Oh man, I never had a Blackstone before, and I don't have a Blackstone brand, but my open range came with a flat top grill, and I love that thing. It's the best. Outdoor cooking, it's great. I love it. So again, if we ever have a bricks and sticks, like, I might still have my tiny little RV combo washer dryer. I'll definitely get a Blackstone. Yeah. So yeah, like cooking, cleaning, it's great to clean. It's 371 square feet. Like, I can clean my entire house in 40 minutes max, deep clean it probably in 40 minutes. But I can't remember who you had on, and I was watching, I was like, yes, 1,000 times yes about the dirt. Oh, Kirsten Smith. It is shocking to Tactical Trekkers is so right. It is shocking to me how much dust and sand, even if we're not at like a dusty or sandy campsite. So my stick vacuum gets a real good workout multiple times a day. But again, it's 370 feet, so it doesn't take very long to clean it.
Gets a workout every day. Yeah.
Well worth it.
Yeah, that's sorry. Every time I speak, you get cut off just a little bit, so I gotta wait just or you gotta wait to touch. I think.
Okay.
Just a little lag time. Yep. See, there it was again. Okay. So yeah. So the washer and dryer thing. You're actually the first person that I heard about the combo unit that says they love it. The reason being is the time, right? Because it doesn't happen fast, and usually the loads are a lot smaller than like a regular washer dryer.
Little smaller, but it's not like dramatically small. I mean, I have a family of 5, so I don't feel like I have to do, 3 loads a day. Like I probably do 1 load a day.
I think that makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
unless the only thing, do you color coordinate?
No.
No.
If we have something new, my aunt just wanted to get my daughter this like red fluffy blanket, and I was like, okay, if we get that blanket, that's gonna get washed. But yeah, we toss everything into 1 load, and it does take like 3-ish hours. Now I will say, big caveat here, make sure it's a vented combo unit, because there are ventless combo units, and I would never get those.
That might be what I'm talking about.
Maybe that is. And I will say, a brand that is popular where you go and buy RV appliances. We went to said place and we saw how much it was going to be for them to install it. And Clint was like, no, thanks. We'll just go ahead and get that unit and we'll do it ourselves. So it was a little nerve-wracking watching my husband cut a hole in our house this big.
Yeah.
But he's a detail-oriented, like type A person. So I knew it was going to be done right. But we've never had any problems at all. Like he cut a vent in the closet, and also having a combo unit. I swear I'm not getting paid by Splendide, which is the brand that I have, but it is half the space. I don't have a closet that has a washer and a dryer. Like I have extra closet space because of the combo unit. So
I like that. It's a good one. First time I've ever heard. Yes, I love this. So good deal. So what about some of the biggest challenges you faced while moving into the RV life, and how did you overcome them? Like, was it cooking and cleaning? You said you did a lot of that anyway. The cleaning part is the dust and sand. It's all the time, right? But cooking, you got a smaller space. You wanted a 4 burner. You got a 3 burner. Got a little less space overall because it's a 370 square foot house versus a 1,200 or 2,000 square feet house. Are there any other challenges you can think of that you faced, but you've overcome them? How did you do so?
Yeah, so we had a 2,600 square foot house before. And 4 bedrooms, pool, yard, mowing. We loved it, actually. We loved the mowing part. Mowing's very like therapeutic for me. Like put in my earplug, listen to a podcast and mow the lawn. But it was just so much upkeep. It was like between weeding and edging and, anyways, all of that to be said, like, I think going tiny, because it is tiny. It's like tiny houses are bigger. Tiny houses are usually around 500 square feet, right? Or less. We're way under that. It simplified everything for us. So in my opinion, like, the cleaning, the cooking, everything was simplified because it was all condensed. Like I could manage everything because it was so much smaller. But we do, we have like had challenges. Like I think some of the parks that we were at, and we're primarily, I don't know if I've mentioned this already, but we're primarily Thousand Trails. We love Thousand Trails. It's like the main way that we can afford this lifestyle. Mm-hmm. But sometimes the challenge is not what you'd think. The challenge is almost having too much community when you're at certain Thousand Trails. So it's great because our kids are extroverted and they go play and they love it. But then when we get to like this is not a Thousand Trails that we're at. It is a really big break, and we get to like reconnect as a family, not be like, where are the kids? I haven't seen the 10-year-old for 4 hours. We got to get the radio and like see where he is on the campground. Like I think one of the biggest challenges we've had is like some places that we're at are too overwhelmingly fun for the kids. I mean, that seems like a silly question, silly answer, but like it's like they come off of this mountaintop experience and then we go to our next stop and there's not as many exciting activities and things to do, and they like melt down. And we're like, okay, you had too much fun. You had way too much fun when we were there, so now we have to like regroup. So that's a challenge that we had to learn how to overcome. And then probably the biggest one that people might not think about is when you do have a spouse that does need quiet time to work, you're living in a box. So making sure that you can get that quiet time when they have to be on a Zoom call or they have a meeting or whatever, that was a big challenge, which we did consider at one point getting a toy hauler because of that. Because we were going to do the thing where like the parents take the garage and then the kids have the master or the loft, because you know that vapor barrier door supposedly has a little more like sound barrier. We did contemplate that for a little while because we're like, well, maybe it would help. But then you just get the kids out to play, or they get a special treat by watching some screen time because we're not big on screens. So that's how you keep them quiet. That's basically how we've overcome that challenge.
Interesting. So it was you mentioned a couple of things here. Too much community. Thousand Trails is your number one, like, this is how we live, right? It just makes sense because you buy the membership, whatever, either you're paying monthly or the whole year, and then you're just there, or you buy it outright, right? And you just let you show up, stay. And you're talking like less than $100 a month to stay at these places, which is insane. But sometimes it's too much community, which I completely understand. Too much fun, too much, how do you say that? Stimulation, basically, for the children.
Yeah.
But then you said something that was interesting that I've never actually heard before. Because, you know, there's kids that have cell phones, kids that don't. Radio. Your kid runs around with the radio?
Okay, so I happen to have it sitting where it was. And depending upon what park we have, like this is extensive. Look how long this.
Yeah.
He can go further. So our 10-year-old, we've never given phones to our kids. We have 10, 7, and now a 4-year-old. And so the 10-year-olds, the 7-year-old too, they have walkie-talkies, and they're not like the cheapy walkie-talkies. They're like, I mean, this is like semi cheap, but they use them as their communication. So all like radio, you know, hey, like report location, like where are you? And they'll be like, oh, I'm at the activity center playing pool with some friends. That's the other challenge, actually, that I will say. 1,000 trails to 1,000 trails widely varies on this. Is some have had such bad experiences with children that like you can't enter the door unless you're 16. No kids, unaccompanied, 16. Sometimes it's 14. I was one place where it was 13. It's like such a random number. Now I get the pool, like I get the liability of the pool, but even like the game room, like a campground will have a game room and then the kids can't go in unless I'm with them. So that's kind of a challenge that we've had to overcome, because if it's slow season, like we were part of the summer last year, we were in Florida and we were at an Encore 1,000 Trails property that had some drama with some teenagers earlier in the summer. So they were like, nope, sorry, can't be in here at all. And then there was nobody there. Like we were one of the only families that were there during the summer, and the ladies got to know my son and they were like, you can come in. Like, it's fine. Yeah. You can play. Yeah. It's okay. You can get a book from the library and hang out or whatever. But that was a challenge for a while too, because one campground we were at wanted them to be with us when they were riding their bikes around the campground. And I'm like, I'm making dinner. Like, I'm not going to ride with them the whole time they're riding. So that was a challenge. And we just had to teach the kids, like, this is not a judgment on you specifically. It's that a couple bad apples have made this happen for you. And you just need to, you know, be respectful like you always are. But yeah, radios, this is like their main lifeline. Like when I want to get a hold of them and they think it's so cool, they're like, location report, Mom. And I'm like, I'm walking on the trail. Okay, affirmative. I'll come find you.
Well, that's kind of cool. My mom just used to, so my friends and other people within the county knew exactly what my mom would do. We didn't have phones. You know, I'm a 90s kid. We didn't have phones. I didn't have a phone until I was probably 6th or 7th grade because I had a different schedule than my sisters. And it was a flip phone. You know, easy one is you pull out the thing, But my mom had this whistle, like she literally like hand whistled, just, and it was like calling the dogs home. Like, so we'd be walking around the racetrack after the races or something like that on a Friday night, and she'd just go wee wee. I'm like, well, you guys, we got to go. That's my mom.
So I can't do it now because my campsite is on the other side of this pond, but we have a call that I will call, and wherever my kids are, how far they are, because a lot of times the radio batteries die, they don't charge them. It's like a caw, and if I yell that, like, I can guarantee you one of my kids will start running. What do you need, Mama?
Yeah.
So I know where your mom's coming from.
Yeah. You actually do that, like with your own, like, ha ha ha. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we do that. Wait, one more time, you cut out.
I've never been accused of being too quiet. I can definitely caw like across the campsite.
We do the same thing when we're skiing. Where you at? Like, we just, it's everyone's skiing. We don't want to pull out our phones. We're covered and everything. We just make some random noise, typically a crow sound. And someone's in the back. Oh, they're over there. Let's go that way. We go skiing through the trees this way. Oh, fun stuff. But very cool. All right. I guess, how about maintenance and repairs? Does Clint take care of a lot of those things, or it's kind of new, or you guys been lucky with repairs? How's that look?
Yeah, we've been super, super lucky, blessed, whatever you want to say. I mean, we did do a lot of research to see like what brands were, more or less reliable, but we've had no major issues at all. And we also did something that we've never done before. When we made the purchase of this rig, we got the extended warranty, and we're not really extended warranty people. I don't think we've ever had an extended warranty on anything else that we've ever had. But it's given us a little extra peace of mind. And then knowing that RV Fix exists gives us a huge piece of. This seems like an appropriate time, right? Right. Yeah, there you go.
That one. If you want 60% off RV Fix for the next years to come, lock in your price now. Sweet.
Yeah.
But yes, it does help.
I mean, Clint has recaulked the sink or like fixed little things here and there. We get up on our slides and look to see if any seals need to get replaced and like just minor wear and tear type stuff. But we've been super, super lucky and blessed, because I've talked to many people who bought their rigs right around when we bought ours, who have already had to drive to Indiana, who have already had multiple, mobile techs out to their rigs. So yeah, so far so good.
That's awesome. So lucky you're blessed, or whatever it may be. That's good. That's a good thing. Last thing on the challenges and solutions in daily life. How does shipping, mail, packages, whatever, all of that look like for you? I know a lot of people use Amazon boxes. They'll ship them to wherever, like the campgrounds, but some campgrounds charge. What does it look like for you guys?
Yeah. So I had never used an Amazon locker until full-time RV life. So we always look to see where there's an Amazon locker, because we're mostly in the Thousand Trails system. Some parks do let you have. I'm always pleasantly surprised. Like some parks, you get your deliveries to your front steps, and it's like all of a sudden I look on my little like Blink camera doorknob, and I'm like, who's walking up to my campsite? And there's like a guy in a UPS shirt or whatever sits my box on the step there. But there are exceptions to that. Some parks don't let you. Some parks charge you $5-10 a piece. Every private campsite we've ever been to, including this one, they are very gracious and have packages that you can pick up your deliveries, in the front office. We're also super blessed that my mom lives in the same town that we had our bricks and sticks. So if we have our legal address goes to her address, and then she'll kind of sort through it. I know some people have like escapees, the mail, I can't think of what the other one's called, where you can hire somebody to do that, what my mom is doing for free, like sorting through the mail, seeing if there's anything important, and then they'll send it to you if they need to. So yeah, so far we haven't had any problems with that.
Perfect. Super simple, to the point on that. I just it's a challenge, because who doesn't use Amazon? Non-perishables, you could probably do that if you do it properly, or whatever else you might need, new t-shirts, underwear, whatever, socks, it's an easy way to go about it. Obviously, there's a Walmart in basically every decent sized town nowadays, so you can go to things, or Target, whatever it may be. But sometimes Amazon is just the easiest route. I don't have to get in the car. I don't have to do anything. It shows up by 10 p.m. that night.
Yeah, sometimes.
It's amazing. There's two warehouses here near Boise, maybe one now. Either way. And some stuff I'll order it and you'll have it on your doorstep when you get home from work. I'm like, that's incredible. Is it necessary? Maybe not, but it's very nice. Oh,
no, and you're on the road. I mean, it depends on where you're on the road, I guess, if you've got a distribution center close to you. But it's like first world problems when I'm like, oh, it's been 3 days and I still don't have my package. It's like, come on, it's okay.
Yeah. I got a little upset last week because I ordered these shirts on Sunday or Monday, and they showed up. They were supposed to show up Wednesday, and they got kicked back one day. And I was leaving Thursday, and it was a super windy day. And I had to text the neighbor. I'm like, hey, can you go grab those because they might blow away? But yeah, like you said, first world problems.
Yeah. Sometimes there are issues. I forgot about that. You do have to think about when you're traveling. We don't move very fast. We like to be 2 to 3 weeks minimum. And so for instance, we ordered a backpack for my son and my daughter. My daughter's got here yesterday, but we leave this location tomorrow and it was supposed to be here today. And then this morning we look on Amazon, it's delayed until Friday. And we're like, So luckily the owners of this campground are amazing. And they're like, we could send it to you, or, you could stay an extra night if you want to. And so thankfully Amazon surprised us and it just got delivered. So we didn't have to worry about it. But that is something you have to think about when you're traveling. If you order something, we were in the Keys, not wanting to order anything because everything takes forever to get to the Keys. We were trying to time it. When we get to the Tampa show, we're not going to have any mail. So you do have to plan ahead on your route. Who's going to get mail? When are they going to let me? Some campgrounds don't want to accept your mail until you're actually there. Other campgrounds are like, oh yeah, we'll just hold it in the office for you. Whenever you get here, you can get it. So you got to think more about it, I guess. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I think it'd be kind of a bothersome thing because you can't stop mail. Literally, I tried to talk to my bank. I'm like, stop mailing me, stop killing trees. I literally, all it is a statement. It's going right to the trash. I don't care. Yeah. There's money in the bank. Sweet. And they're like, we can't do paperless. I'm like, yeah, you can. Yeah, I know you can. But whatever. Anyway, so you have 3 kids. Your oldest is 10.
Mm-hmm.
And then
10 is the boy, 7 is the girl, and then 4-year-old boy.
Okay. So you said you guys started homeschooling beforehand. So you've been at it for a little bit of time. But how do you go about, I guess, do you use different apps? They have, I can't remember exactly what they're all the names are. Mia Academy, and there's another something or another. Do you do that? Do you use those? Do you do your own curriculum? Do you do the unschooling? I've learned a lot of things about this. It's a very interesting topic for me. Do you catch hate for it? Do you feel like your kids are thriving or not thriving? All the good questions.
Yeah. So we've got an evolution that has happened with homeschooling. So my kids have never gone to public school or conventional school or whatever you want to call it. So since the beginning, the 10-year-old, preschool on through. But we have changed a little bit of what we did. Like I mentioned, at one point, there was a 2-year period that we were going to a co-op in our community where our Bricks and Sticks house was here in Central Florida. And so then it was more of a school setting. Like they had a lunch break and they had PE and they had, electives and then the core classes as well. And then I would supplement at home and do their homework with them. There's benefits to that for sure. Social skills, learning, how to choose who you're going to sit with at the lunch table, like that kind of stuff, and then we've transitioned now more into the 2 curriculums that we use the most are Singapore math and then the Good and the Beautiful for language arts. And we've actually used the Good and the Beautiful is pretty popular. Like I'm sure you've heard that from a lot of families.
Yep.
for language arts, we used it for math too for a couple of years, but this school year is different because Clint actually became the kids' math teacher. So yeah, so every year that we've lived in Florida, so this last May, we won't be going this May, but last May was our 6th year of going to, there's a huge homeschool convention in Orlando in May. And we've been for the last 6 years. And it's just like there's different curriculums. You can touch them and feel them and open the books. Like I'm a tactile person. And you can talk to the people that wrote the curriculum. There's like speakers on homeschooling, all these different things. Well, last year, Clint started talking to the guy at the Singapore math booth and got wowed. And he's like, I think we should try this with the kids. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's learn more about it. And we learned more about it. And I said, I think maybe you should try to think about doing math this year. Because
not me.
Math is fun. Yeah, like, because I'm not a math person. Like, I'm more of like the arts and the creative and literature. And like, I'm not a detail-oriented mathematical person. And Clint totally is. I mean, he's an engineer by trade. So he was like all about it. He's like, okay, I'll do math for our oldest. And then it changed to, well, I could just do math for like the 10-year-old and the 7-year-old. So he's the math teacher. He does math 2 days a week. Sometimes 3 days a week, depending upon if we have travel days or not. And we kind of do that on not an unschooling level, because I know some people, they don't follow the curriculum. They don't have a curriculum at all. We don't follow the curriculum like it's the gospel truth. Like we just use it as a little bit stronger than I can't think of what the word is, stronger than outline. It's like for math. If you're supposed to do a quiz on Tuesday and the kids aren't ready, let's make sure they have all the information. Like, that's what I mean. Like, make sure they have, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Personalized education, I guess, is the best way to describe that as far as math goes. Because you need to make
structure.
There you go. He's more structured. I'm a little loose. We like meet in the middle. And then for like language arts, literature, a little bit of science, history, and art, that's kind of my departments. And we usually do that like 3 days a week. We like to keep Fridays open for field trips, play dates. If we're going on like a larger excursion, like we're not too far from Manatee Spring here in Florida. So last Friday, we had all day to go to the springs and float and play and hike. So Fridays, we don't usually do school. I mean, we're doing school all day long. Like, grocery store, we're doing school. Online purchases, well, we have a gift card. How much could we use for that gift card? And they'll like sit over my shoulder while we're making a purchase, and they'll figure out the budgeting. So like, you're really doing school all the time. But those are the two curriculums we use, the Good and the Beautiful and Singapore math. Oh, and for our history, American history, we're using the Tuttle Twins is the name of that curriculum.
Interesting. Well, I never heard of the Singapore math, so that's really cool. But the next question I always ask, if you've listened to a couple of them, you probably heard this one. Your 10-year-old's probably getting to the point, and your 7-year-old's not too far behind that. Sports. You guys, are you driven by sports? Are you not? The reason I ask, for me, because eventually, like, I probably end up falling into this lifestyle, right? I work at an RV company. I get a decent deal on the RV, and then I just love to travel. I've been in more states than most people have on at my age, but I was also very, very athletically driven. Like if school didn't have athletics, like I wouldn't have went. Like I would have begged to not go. But that's what drove me to be me, right? He taught me all about discipline, taught me about teamwork, taught me about, drive for myself, just inspiration, just to get better. So a question for you, do you plan to do it? And if so, how do you plan to do it? If not, we can move right on.
Yeah. No, well, I think it depends on the kids' season of life. Like when they were really little, like I think our daughter was probably 4, and that means our son was 7-ish. We put him in soccer, even though they didn't really know a whole lot about it. Because I was like, you guys, my husband and I both played sports a little bit, not like into college or anything, but like I played volleyball, I played soccer, my husband did baseball. So like we wanted them to learn how to learn from somebody who's not us, first of all, which homeschooler kids sometimes don't get, right? If they're not in a co-op situation, I want them to learn from someone other than me. So they had they both were on soccer teams for a couple of years, and it was just like a little step up higher than rec league, but it wasn't like travel soccer or anything. And they learned skills that kind of translated more into, like, Nixon, our son, decided, oh, I really want to do golf, because my Clint used to be really into golf. And so he'd seen pictures of daddy, golfing. He had golf shoes, he had golf clubs. So Nixon started to do golf lessons, and then he started to get pretty good. And we were like, okay, instead of just 1 day a week, we'll do it 2 days a week. And they never got to the level where it was like a golf team, because he was 8, you know what I mean? But then after that, when he was 7, he was doing golf, and we were doing martial arts. So we started doing martial arts as a family, which was different. And we can still do this on the road, because there's a lot of different studios around the countries that will do, it's not a travel membership. I'm trying to think of what it's called. Andy and Joey, Nuclear Nomads, they do the same idea. If they do it, their daughter used to do MMA, and now she does jujitsu. So it's a little different, but you can go and just walk into Bara Gracie is the brand usually, and say, hey, this is where I was at this group, and now we're going to be here for 6 weeks, 6 months, whatever, and you can join. So they got really into martial arts. They lean towards individual sports, right? Like golf, martial arts. So I'd be interested to know the next time we're going to be in one place. I think I might ask them if they want to do like swimming. They're both really strong swimmers. See what they want to do there. But as far as what we do on the road, you can still do the martial arts. You can still do jujitsu on the road, which I think is cool. And I think it's good for, especially my daughter, like every girl, I feel like just needs to know self-defense, But then I think if we're a little more stationary for longer, like we have a plan to potentially this summer be in one place for 3 months straight, I would definitely get into like a rec league of whatever they seem to be interested in. And when they decide that they don't want to do it, say, nope, you signed up for the league, so you're going to be there for the whole season. That's the one thing we do kind of feel like if you started it, you're going to finish it. But yeah, to see what they like. Because I have friends who get their kids into one sport and they're passionate about that sport. So the kid's in the sport, and then they do just that sport. And then the kid's like, okay, I'm done now. But they never tried anything else. So I don't know. Maybe as they get older, we'll get variety.
Yeah, it's you see that a lot. I mean, growing up in the Midwest, we didn't have much more fun than sports. We had fun, right? There was a lot of stuff to do, and we enjoyed all of it. I specifically, and the guys around me did too, but different place, different times. What about surfing? You guys lived in Hawaii for a long time. Have any of them ever thought about surfing?
Yeah, so Nixon remembers Maui, but we moved when he was fairly young. So when we've gone back, he likes it. Actually, he really likes stand-up paddling. It's, again, like, more of an individual, but he likes to stand-up paddle. He's got the balance. His balance is insane. So, again, when we're in the same place potentially for 3 months, that might be another fun thing to do. But Clint surfed a little bit when we lived in Maui. Like the average guy, every guy in Maui surfs. He wasn't like doing dawn patrol every single morning surfing, but like, you'd go out and surf with his buddies at the beach. It's just different. In Maui, you take for granted that it's Maui. So you don't surf as much. And I like to stand up paddle. Like I always told people, if my family hadn't lived on the eastern coast of Central Florida, I would have rather lived on the Gulf side, because I'd rather have turquoise waters and stand up paddle than we lived close to the shark bite capital of the world, and surfers loved it, So.
Yeah, it's tough. That's a tough one. I don't like the idea of sharks. That's the only thing that scares me about surfing. But if everyone else is out there doing it, less is the chance that I'm going to be the one. Like we're all at risk here.
You're just not a swimmer. You're fine. Just make sure you can swim faster than somebody else.
And make less splash, make less noise. I don't want to be the one that's making the most noise either. So, anyway, well, I appreciate that, because it's always it's something that it's a concern when you're on the road, right? And like, well, how do you, like, if they say they wanted to chase the football dream, right? You can't not be out of school. Like you can't just like go try out for a team it doesn't work that way. There's not really club football. I mean, I played football into college. That's why I asked that. And specify football, but I always wanted to do extreme sports. Like I wanted to jump out of airplanes at like 12 years old. That's what I wanted to do. I would have been another Evel Knievel if I would have had the chance to do it or the means to do so. My parents didn't, and they were a little more cautious about it, but I was like, why? Like now I have a little more, I would like to live. There's more things on my bucket list that I want to cross off versus extreme sports. But I was a hellion. So anyway, moving on to the next part, financial aspects. So how do you guys sustain this lifestyle financially? Are there any specific tips you can offer to earning income while on the road?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I consider us to be a little bit of a cautionary tale.
Okay.
So this is why. The joke is you make a plan and then God laughs because plans are going to change. So financially, the plan was we put our house on the market. We found our rig. We were getting ready to go. Clint was the main breadwinner. He's a software engineer by trade. And we were like, okay, we'll do this. You already work remote. It's perfect. Then we got on the road in March, put the house on the market, and the house didn't sell. And then the house didn't sell. And then a couple months later, the house didn't sell. And we were like, it's been 7 months and our house hasn't. Like, what is happening?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So the whole plan of like, oh, we'll buy the house or we'll buy the rig, but then we'll sell the house and we'll pay off the rig. Yeah, that didn't happen. So I always tell people that's fine, but we were not, we were like hardcore Dave Ramsey people for like the better part of a decade. And it felt really weird that we financed a rig, but then it's interesting how the story changed. So my job, I was a stay-at-home mom and homeschool mom, and every other side job that I have always has the word teacher in front of it usually. So I taught at the kids co-op, like literally was a teacher at a school setting. Then I'm also a yoga instructor. And then I also was for a while traveling around and teaching like seminars on various things. Like pre-COVID, I was teaching clean eating cooking classes. I was teaching about, are you familiar with the Enneagram, the personality typing system? So I was driving around different various parts of Central Florida and teaching about the Enneagram to like small businesses. And I did a little stint in like selling essential oils, all these different like random things because I was not the breadwinner. And then Clint's job was our main. So when we got to the rig, I was like, I'm just going to like enjoy taking it off and just like not really doing much and not having much on my calendar. And then we started getting to these campgrounds. And a lot of times people would find out I was a yoga teacher and be like, hey, our activities director doesn't have anything for people that aren't like retired. Could you teach yoga? And I'd be like, well, okay. And it's donation. Okay, whatever. Well, I was making like $100 in an hour teaching a class. And I was like, why not? All right. So that's like an unexpected, income for us. And then also I kind of dabble in watercoloring and I do hand lettering. And so hand lettering was usually in a business, like somebody wants a huge sign, their menu hand lettered. I would do that. I went to college for graphic design. That's where my degree is. And then I would just dabble in little things here and there. That also started working for like the remote. Like I'd be somewhere and we would always send postcards. We'd love to send postcards to our friends from wherever we are. And we would go somewhere and we couldn't really find a postcard that looked like this park or this attraction. And so I just ordered some little watercolor blank postcards. And me and the kids, I would draw it and I would paint it. And then they would send postcards that I hand painted. And then there are these craft sales or there's like little swap meets or different activities at these campgrounds. You should sell the postcards. I was like, okay. So like things just kind of kept popping up. So that has now become like a little side. I don't know. I don't like the word hustle, but like a little side, like I enjoy doing it. Teaching yoga, doing, talking about the Enneagram, and then pouring more energy into doing the content creation, because I can do all those things when I'm remote. I can teach yoga remotely. Somebody can, pay $5 a month and they can watch my yoga classes, or I can, like talk about brands that I already love, and then I'm going to start getting paid for it. Like, it just kind of started like evolving into that. All the while, Clint's job got to be very toxic, and his company got merged like 3 different times. And it got to the point where he was like, I don't know if I should stay here anymore. And we were like, okay, let's talk about it. Let's think about it. Let's pray about it. And he quit his job.
All right.
So his new endeavor, because he is such an engineering mind and he's so like precise, is we got a drone. And he has taken drone courses. He's studying, like, I don't know if you know this, like you have to get like an actual FAA like certification if you want to do anything commercial with the drone. So he's doing that. And we've already had campsites be like, oh my gosh, like we'll buy. Yeah, that's great. Like we'll buy that from you. So that's kind of like our new, like we're in a new season of that, like seeing what's going to happen.
There's always ways to make money. There's a million ways to make money. It's kind of sickening how easy it can be. And then people are like, well, I can't find a job. Like, oh, you can find one. You can make one. I mean, there's so many free opportunities. We just bought into like an online course. It was like a $70 course, right? And obviously, who doesn't sell a digital product? I mean, everybody does at some point, in some way, some fashion. But they've sold 110,000 of them, and it equates to like $7.7 million. I'm like, granted, they probably spent $2 million just getting it off the ground, just like advertising and pushing ads and stuff like that behind it, and, boosting posts. And anyway, I'm like, well, if you really want to do something like this, and remote work and there's so much remote work after 2020, after COVID and all that, there's so many ways to make money nowadays. So you can make it happen if you really want to. But on top of that, well, kudos to the new drone thing. That's I almost thought about doing the same for like real estate around here, but editing takes a lot of power, which is what I do for a living anyway. But anyway, what budgeting advice would you, I guess, give for someone that's considering the RV life? Because it's a different way. It can be cheap. It can be expensive. Depends how you do it. If you live frugal, you don't go out to eat, yada, yada. What would you say would be some budgeting advice that you could share?
Yeah. So we, for years, used this app that really helps. I think it would help anybody if they're just getting into budgeting and the idea of budgeting. It's called You Need a Budget, YNAB, You Need a Budget. And it's very similar to, I can't remember who you had on that talked about the other one. Every Dollar is the other one. Yeah. So I don't know, whichever one's free. I think probably they're both good apps. But when we first started out trying to figure out our finances, I mean, we've been married for 18 years now, I think. And we started this a year or two, maybe even the year we got married. We've ebbed and flowed on like how restrictive and rigid we are on it. But like, if you know how much money you're spending on your food, on your diesel, on your campgrounds, if you don't have a membership, like all of that, and you just sample, I spend X amount, and you pay attention, like, you can take your receipts and pay attention. How much did I spend? That's half the battle. Just knowing how much you spend, because chances are, if you're new to budgeting, you have no idea how much you're spending on groceries or dining out, which are usually like the two biggies that people know how much their rent is, or they know how much their gas is, but those are the two ones that shock you. If you know how much you have and then you budget a month ahead, which is always best case scenario, you're not like waiting for payday, right? Then you don't have this like weird guilty feeling where you're like, should I eat out? Should I not eat out? So we used the app, and we've not used it a lot recently, but we've used the app, the YNAB app, because then we can look in our like virtual envelopes, they call them, and we can see like, oh, it's like almost the end of the month, and we had like $75 we never even spent on dining out. Like, for instance, right now where we're located, there's not really any restaurants around here. We're a little more remote. So that's great. We'll like parlay that until next month, and then we'll have extra. But budgeting to me, it felt very restrictive when it started, and I was like, oh, I can't breathe. Like, I just want to spend my money, because I'm a little more of this free spirit, and he's more of the like by the book. He says free spirit versus nerd. But instead of feeling restrictive, it actually feels freeing, because then you don't have a wonder, like, am I going to be able to pay my bills and do that? Or is it not going to work? So it depends on your income too. If your income is fluctuating like ours is right now, it's different than when we had a 9-to-5, corporate job, and we knew where our income was coming from.
It's interesting because, I catch myself, I am a free spirit like person as well. And I've recently I watched a documentary that I've mentioned in a lot of these. It's called Buy Now on Netflix. I say it again. I said it 4, 5 times, 6 times. I don't care. I'll keep saying it. America has a problem with consumerism. It's just what it is. It's first world problems, I try to be better about it because I have too many clothes. I have a problem with that, and I can't get rid of them fast enough. But that's part of the budgeting problem, right? We feel like we need things we don't need, right? And then the going down to the minimalistic lifestyle, living in 370 square feet ish or whatever, you have no choice but to think about that stuff now, or being on the road when actually money for gas matters, money for the trailer if you're not paid off, money for the truck if you're not paid off. You got to think about where are we going to eat next, and then going out to eat, especially when there's 5 of you, that's a $150, $200 bill every time. Doesn't matter which way you spend it. I mean, unless you go to McDonald's, right? But still, even at McDonald's, you're spending, a cheeseburger at McDonald's is still, it's $8 nowadays. It's like, what the hell? I used to be able to go there for $3. But anyway, yeah. So budgeting advice. I mean, there's, like I've never heard of the YNAB or Every Dollar. So that's interesting. I'm not a Dave Ramsey person. I think that's, you got to live a little, Dave, and I think that was a little more easier back in the day. Just, the times were different when he kind of really came up, but interesting. Anyway, that was pretty sweet. I never heard of the YNAB app and Every Dollar app. So that's really cool. But anyway, what about community connection for you guys? Have you guys, you kind of talked about it. You found a sense of community before you were even in the RV community. You're reaching out to people and making friends. So I feel like you've gotten one within the RV influencer space for sure. But you guys, in your first year of first 1 year Nomad anniversary, have you done any RV rallies, community events? You said you do 1,000 trails, so you utilize that a lot. And sometimes it's overstimulating, which is, a blessing and a curse. But have you done any rallies? Have you done any, full-time family stuff? Any of that?
Yeah. So we're not members of full-time families. I looked into it at the beginning, and I just felt like it wasn't an additional purchase that I felt like we needed. And so we haven't been into any of those rallies. Now, I will say, I feel like going to 1,000 Trails Orlando, or TTO as it's called, is a rally in and of itself. So if you're ever in TTO Orlando during the winter, you basically are at a rally. And then the Tampa show might as well be considered a mini rally, because that's where all of, the full-time families, not everybody stays on property, but if you're on property at the Tampa show, there's, dinners, people all gather together, and there's, groups that all kind of caravan together if they're going to go off site. So we've never been to any official, sanctioned rallies. So I think community in the RV life, it's obviously going to depend on your personality. There's couples, there's families, there's empty nesters, there are young couples that haven't had kids yet. And then there's older couples that are empty nesters. And I feel like community, just like every aspect of my life, even before RV life, I like to have a multifaceted community. I don't like just being around people that are exactly like me. So I've thoroughly enjoyed meeting RV families who do things drastically different than me. There's super bougie campers that I've met that are they have the nicest everything, and they're having filet mignon, and their income is absolutely amazing. They don't want for anything. And then I've met people who did the van conversion themselves, and they're just kind of living that way too, and kind of everywhere in between, to be honest. So we've met so many people that, like I said, I don't know what they're open books. right? Like I haven't met anybody who's really been like, oh yeah, I kind of keep that part of my life separate, or I'm not going to share that with you. Like they are so open to helping and encouraging, and I don't know, like it's like they had to be welcomed into the group, so to speak, at one point or another. So they turn around and welcome people as well. And I feel like when our kids are around people, it's like instant friend making, right? Like I'm extroverted, but Clint's a little more on the introverted side. So like he's met more dad friends because him and Nixon were at a pond, or, you know, they were riding bikes and they met some dudes, or like somebody had extra firewood and they were like, hey, you want this? And they start chatting. So I think like there's something to be said that's just really special when you're around people that are doing the same lifestyle, but they're doing it in their own unique way. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You get to learn.
I mean, it's all like-mindedness, right? I mean, you're kind of in, whether it be nomad or not, you know, weekender style, you're going around people that are camping, they're having fun, they're going out with their families, they want to be outdoors, you know, they're on the same trail, they're riding bikes. I mean, they're out sitting on the beach. I mean, you're doing similar things with them, right? So obviously you're going to find connection at some point in time, whether you stay friends or not. You know, that, I mean, that's like a little bit up to fate and your own choice, but it's I think there's a huge community that, like, you know, you're going to find people that you don't vibe with. Doesn't matter where you are, what you do, right? But this one is, you know, specific.
There's like something really special about campfire friends is kind of what I refer to them as. Like, even if you don't have a campfire, you're just sitting around a pond or a beach, or you're having that shared experience, but like they might come from a completely different background than you, but you can find commonality with them. And like my kids have always been fairly easy to like make friends, but I feel like full-time traveling kids, they are really good at making friends, deep connections quickly.
Yeah.
Like we'll still FaceTime with kids that we met in Texas 9 months ago, or in Kentucky 12 months ago, or whatever. Like they still have connections. And I will say what's really cool about Florida in the winter is it's like a reunion. So like we saw people in Kentucky that we then ran into in Arkansas, and then we bumped into them again in Texas. And then they're like, we'll see you in the winter. Like we all kind of congregated, unless you go to Baja or Arizona. Usually you're going to Florida for the winter. So that was really cool because they got to make friends, but then they had the anticipation of knowing they're going to see their friends again. And then me having the anticipation of knowing I'm seeing, you know, their parents, those friends again too. So yeah, I don't think there's any lack of social connectivity if you just get out there and try, you know?
Yeah, I think that's one thing that I'd actually struggle with is living in an RV is I'm a winter fun person. Skiing is very high on my list. I'm very like, I mean, wintertime, I'm skiing. Like I moved, so I was a big hunter back home in the wintertime in Nebraska because that's what we did, right? That was the time. Now I moved out here, and one of my favorite things to hunt, I don't hunt anymore because there's snow in the mountains. Like I've never had a chance to just go up there and just go, you know, go ripping down the side of a mountain. I just haven't had the opportunity to just do that on a weekend. And by Saturday, you know, leave Saturday morning, and by Saturday night, I'm back home in my own bed. So like I'm taking advantage of it. It's my season of life, like you said. So I don't know if I'd be able to do that. I mean, it'd be nice. And then you could just fly out, but then you're flying out and spending a lot of money. I'd rather be near it all. So, I mean, obviously to each their own. But the fact that you said your kids, you know, they're like it's true. Kids are adaptable, and kids are going to be social and make friends quickly anyway. It doesn't matter where you're at, you know, but specifically in that situation where you're breeding the idea of friendships, you're putting them in the situations to do that. I think that's super powerful. And those kids are going to be probably friends for a lot of them, going to stick around for a lifetime. Because you remember,
they'll have friends that are from all over, you know, like they'll, I mean, I've lived in a lot of states, so I have friends that are from all over. I lived in Australia at one point, lived in Maui, lived in California. So I have friends that are spread around, but that's different. Like my kids now probably have the same amount of friends and connections that I do as an adult, like, because they meet kids all the time. So.
Yeah. And they're coming out, like, I think they're going to come out just well more cultured. And like, I guess a better idea of like, you know, what other people's shoes, right? They're just meeting so many people compared to, I grew up in this small town. And then I finally go to another small town. I mean, you just don't get, you're getting a lot bigger of a community, or I guess a outlook on life when you're traveling around the country, meeting people at new places all the time that, you could be, say you're in Nebraska, but you met up at the campground, and someone's from Washington and you're from Hawaii.
Yeah.
Or one's from Maine or Pennsylvania.
What's the word? You get a larger swath of the population.
Oh,
so like sure. If you're in your town, you're only going to meet the people that live in that small town. Now, maybe those small town people had moved from Washington State or New York or wherever, but when you travel, like, it's always shocking to me that like the license plates in certain campgrounds, they're from everywhere. Like, it's crazy that you will literally meet people, and maybe they're not from far away, but they've been to so many cool places, right? So like, we've not done the West Coast. We've not, even though I'm from California originally, like, we've not done Utah, Colorado, like that. But then my kids run into kids who have cool stories about going to Zion, and like, it gets the kids excited about things that they haven't seen before because they're seeing it through that kid's eyes.
Yeah, it's very cool. They're going to come out, I think, more well-rounded than most kids taking their traditional route of, sticks and bricks, and then obviously one school. And then that's not saying for everybody, everyone has their, I guess, idea of life, but I don't know. I think they're going to be just fine. A lot of people might, disagree with that, but, to each their own, I guess. So what about, so you've been at this for a year. What about some advice you would give someone who's thinking about transitioning into the full-time life? What would you, I guess, suggest on that? If you were to like look back at yourself a year ago, like, here's 3 things I'd tell myself before we got into this.
Yeah, totally. So, paying cash for your RV is great. That would be, if you were able to do that, like, Yep. I think there's a conception that RV life has to be so much less expensive. Like, it's not always cheaper than bricks and sticks. You can make it if you make select decisions. For instance, we first were planning on getting an older rig, and we wanted a nice used, lightly used, best case scenario, but we have quite a few friends who have had major mold sickness in the past. One friend had to strip their house down to the studs and drop hundreds of thousands of dollars into their house, and then medical conditions and all that. And actually, she's in Idaho right now. There's a molds clinic or something there. Anyway, so that kind of got us a little startled when we started looking at used rigs, because you don't know who's going to be taking care of their stuff, having a dehumidifier, whatever. So best case scenario, if you can pay cash for your RV, great. If you can't, make sure you can truly afford it. Let's see, just know it's a depreciating asset. Just know, like, in your mind, really wrap your brain around the fact that it's a depreciating asset, which is okay for some, that's fine. I highly recommend memberships to campgrounds. I highly recommend Thousand Trails. It's not perfect for everybody, but I feel like there is a park for everybody. There are parks that cater more towards this population or that population, or the introverts or the extroverts, or the camper van guys, or the rugged kayakers. There's Thousand Trails for everybody. And Harvest Host is another membership I really like, because they really save you a lot of time and money too. And then just be open-minded. I got randomly interviewed by an Arkansas news anchor about RV life, and she asked me that question, and I just kind of said it off the top of my head, and then later I was like, that really is true. If you just have an open mind about what it's going to be like, not a whole lot of preconceived notions of what RV life will look like for you, and you can just go with the flow, it'll make it so much easier. And obviously that's life experience of all of life, advice too. But yeah, go with the flow, open-minded, be open to pivot, because a lot of pivots will probably happen.
Yeah, it's probably true. I mean, it's just a different idea, right? You're kind of walking into it like, though you watch other people's Instagrams, though you watch other YouTubes and read about this, that, and the other, you're still kind of going like this, right? You're still kind of like walking blind into it all. You don't really know exactly how it's going to look, what's it's going to be like, what might happen. being open-minded for those things are going to happen. That's going to depreciate. Things are going to break. Just kind of part of it, you know? So interesting on that one. Good advice on that. Is there any common misconceptions about RV life? You said you did mention one about misconception about how it has to be more or less, or it can be more or less than like your mortgage payment or regular lifestyle. But what else would you think is a misconception about RV life?
Well, I think people also assume that they have to be extroverted. Like, I met a gal right after we went to the Keys. I can't remember what campsite we were at. And she had only her main concern, they had just launched. They had just started RVing. And she said her son was really introverted. And she's like, I just don't know if we're going to be able to, like, you know, do this long term, because there's a big age gap between him and his like teenage sister. He was younger. And I reassured her. I said, we've not been doing this for 5 years like a lot of people, but like I've seen a lot of kids, and the introverts still find the other introverts. Like, I'll see little kids, like the introverts might be playing cards at a picnic table. You know, they're not playing flag football with 14 people they just met that day, but they will find their own people. Just like if they're in a bricks and sticks traditional school, the introverted kids usually find the other introvert. You know, I think it's a preconceived notion that you have to fit into whatever mold, independently wealthy, upwardly mobile, any words you can think of that, extroverted. There are people for everyone. There's people for everyone. You're always going to find your people, but you have to be authentic. You have to be authentically you. And I'm, you know, preaching to the choir too with myself of like content creation and social media. Like, if you're just you, your people will find you, whether it's on a campground or on your Instagram or whatever. Like, if you are you, then the people that resonate with you are going to find you.
I like that. You don't have to be extroverted. You don't have to be. Though it is an extroverted, I would probably say it does bring in extroverted people. More the lifestyle, there's probably more extroverts than not, just because of it's not a norm of life, you know? I guess, I mean, as you look at the normal life, right, it's probably outside of that. But yeah, not being extroverted, you don't have to be. You're still going to make friends. I think that's a really good way of looking at it. So you've been at this for a year now, right?
Yep.
What are some of the best places you've been? Best things you've done?
All right. So we went all the way up northern Kentucky. Like, I could almost see Cincinnati, far up to Kentucky. Right. The end of last summer, or the beginning of last summer, and we took the kids to the Ark Encounter. Somebody actually built this like massive wooden boat in the middle of Kentucky. It was amazing. We're not big like theme park type people. Like, you think we're living in Florida, we'd be like all about Disney, but it was like a 3-day adventure. Like, it was super cool, and it's super cool in a niche way. It was super cool from an RV perspective, because you're sitting there in this gigantic, like, recreated, you know, they use the dimension. Jeez. You know, what the actual cubits would have been built back in the day with very minimal tools. But the cool part about the RV perspective was they talked to you about like how cooking would have been handled, how waste management would have been handled, like all the like super cool, like RV relatable things. So that was super, super cool to like go and see. And we'd also had never been to that part of Kentucky. I'd never been to that part of the country before. So Kentucky really blew me away with how beautiful it was. Same thing with Tennessee. I liked Tennessee, but actually one of like probably like places, the Keys are pretty and they're beautiful. I always kind of tuck the Keys in the back because I'm from Maui. So the Keys don't rank up quite as high as like person going to the Keys. It's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. But Texas, I had lived in Texas a short time in my childhood. Clint's family's from Texas, and it wasn't Texas itself that was so incredible. It was that because we had this full-time life, we toured around Texas for like 2.5, 3 months, because I mean, let's face it, it's a big state, right? And we got to see friends and family in various parts of Texas that we had not seen, some of them like almost 20 years. friends and family on both Clint's side and my side, friends from childhood. Like, because of full-time life, we got to just like kind of hop through all these random parts of Texas and show the kids like where Clint grew up. And just, that's not something we could have done in a bricks and sticks lifestyle, right? You might have just gone to see one family member for a week, but we got to like experience that for, it was almost 3 months that we spent there. So that was just really cool. Seeing people we hadn't seen for a long time, reconnecting. Yeah, that was just really cool.
Interesting. So what about I guess this is kind of a cool question I enjoy because it teaches you, I mean, just being in 370 square foot versus 2,600 square foot, I mean, it teaches you more about yourself and your family. So what are some unexpected benefits that you think that you have come across or come to know since you started your full-time RV life?
Okay, so that's a good question. I like that.
It's my favorite.
Yeah. Okay, so I think the connection to nature is not talked about enough. Like, I feel like I almost need to like reels about that on my page, because it's not that we're like, you know, hiking barefoot in the woods and we're like connected.
Yeah, hippie.
But are so much more connected to nature. Like, you pay attention, like, this is a silly example, but you pay attention. If there's winds coming, you check to see if your awnings are out or not. You know, like when I was in a bricks and sticks house, I didn't care if it was windy outside. Like, I wasn't thinking about it. You notice the stars more. You notice when, you know, the moon is bigger or smaller or waxing or waning or whichever one it is. Like, you just notice nature more because you live in 371 square feet. So a lot of your life is not spent indoors, right? Like I said, I love the grill. I like to cook outside. I get to like smell what the morning smells like in whatever campground we're in. And then like in the evening, it might smell different because different things are blooming. Like, the nature connection, I was always outside and I love nature. I lived in Maui, I lived in Australia, lived in Southern California, places where you spend a lot of time outdoors. But it's different when you live in an RV. I think that, yeah, like that connection to nature, I didn't have that level before.
Interesting. I like that one. I've heard that like one other time, you know, just being outside more. Like that's like an unexpected benefit. You feel more fresh. You feel more, I guess refreshed is the right word. I don't know. I understand it because I go outside all the time, but not everybody does. You know, like me going to the mountains for a day, spending 10 hours on the mountain, I feel better coming out of that than going downtown for out to eat. Like, I just do.
Yeah.
Even when I, you know, ate it a couple times on the mountain, I'm all bumped and bruised and sore, but I still feel better. Oh,
yeah.
shoot.
And on the mountain for you is better than like, you know, a great day indoors.
We need those every once in a while. We need to chill on the couch and watch a couple movies in a day. I've been there, done that, and it's very good for my soul. But so is the mountains. So where do you see this? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, I feel like because you are more aware of the outdoors, like you kind of become more adaptable. And maybe a little more like resilient. Like, I've noticed that with my kids, especially. Like, I always spent more time with my kids than the average person because I already homeschooled them when we were at home. But I feel like they're more adaptable. Like, the weather affects them more, but in like a good way. Like there are days that you spend inside because you live in an RV and it's raining outside and the kids can't hang out outside. So then you're adapted to, oh, okay, well, today we're going to do homeschool inside instead of at the park or underneath that tree. Instead of having a picnic, we'll be inside. But they like adapt better to it. I felt like in a bricks and sticks life, when it was rainy for a couple of days or it's, you know, tornado season in Florida, like they didn't adapt well to it. I don't know if that makes any difference. I just thought about that. Like, I do feel like they adapted and became a little more resilient, as have the grownups too. But like, yeah, the kids, never really thought about that. But anyways, yeah, last thing I was going to say is I feel like an unexpected benefit that I did not see coming was, like, I talk about on my page, like freedom, like we're a freedom loving family is what I talk about. And we already checked out of the matrix a little bit because we already homeschooled, but I felt like this year of traveling, we never have felt stuck. Like, if we don't like our neighbors, we're going to leave in a week or so. It doesn't matter. Like, you have the freedom to just change your front yard or change your outlook or change your temperature. If it was getting too hot, we could just go north. If it was getting too cold, we could just go south. Like, the level of freedom, I did not expect to feel that level of freedom.
Which I've heard that before, it's like the freedom to do what you want, where you want. And like if you have the remote job that gives you the opportunity, you don't really have to be anywhere. It makes it a little easier for you to like, okay, this is my life. I get to take it by the horns and I get to do what I want to do. And that's kind of the whole reason why, well, it's at least a lot of the reason why you probably started it anyway, right? The mundanity of the normality of the life that most of us live, or 90% of us or 95% of us live, it sucks. It can really suck. It's not, luckily I really enjoy what I do. I mean, I don't always enjoy being here every day. No one ever does. Just when you do the same thing every day, it gets monotonous. But the idea of being able to just go wherever you want, be down in Florida, you can run up to Maine, have some lobster. Let's go to Maine next week. Next month, let's go there. I think that'd be freaking cool. I'd like to do
like with the freedom of homeschooling. So like, we're doing American history, and I could literally tell the kids like, oh, you just learned about Gettysburg? We're going to go there next month. Like that's weird. A completely different immersive experience than any kid in any school. Like when I was growing up in California and going to school, there was a yearly Washington, D.C. trip that everybody took. We were too broke for me to go, but like most of my friends went, and I got to hear what they learned in Washington. But like, that was for a weekend. Like, we could literally spend months going up the East Coast this summer if we want to, like, yeah, just freedom.
Yeah, definitely freedom to do what you want and take control of your own life. I that's a big, that's commendable to you guys, because you're enjoying life your way versus, I mean, not to say that people don't do that anyway. When they're living a 9-to-5 life, they still, maybe that's the way they love their life. The routine of it all. Some people do love that, love the community of their workplace. They, but I would rather choose that life as in going on the road and living on the road. So it's a good chance it's in my future. We'll see. We'll get there someday, one day at a time. But future plans, speaking of future plans, what are your future plans? What are your goals with your RV journey? Do you see yourself doing it for many years still? Or do you feel like you might end up with back in the sticks and bricks? Or what does it look like for you guys? Do you have goals to be somewhere, check off all the 50 states? What's the deal?
So we've never really had like the agenda of the 50 states. We do have the map. So we do put our states, every time we go to a new state.
Yeah.
When we looked at it, we kind of looked at the map. We kind of thought, okay, well, when we bought the rig, we said, we'll do this for at least a year. We committed to at least a year, right? So then we looked at the map of where we wanted to go, and we didn't want to move very fast. So we thought, okay, well, we've already mapped out. I remember the month we were leaving Florida was June when we finally left Florida. We like putzed around for a little while, and then we were leaving Florida. And we were looking on the map, and I'm like, okay, I've got us till May of next year, and we haven't seen like half the people or half the things we want to see. So I think we're doing this for more than a year. And Clint was like, oh yeah, I was thinking the other day, I think we're doing this at least for 2 years now. And I was like, okay.
1 week, 2 week, 1 year, 2 year.
Yeah. And so like, funny because plans change so much. And that's why I think my advice to myself and to everyone else is like, have an open mind and be flexible, because so after the Tampa show, our original plan was we were going to make our way out of Florida, and we were headed west. And we have some really good friends in Utah that live like 20 minutes outside of Zion. So we were like, yes, please. So we were going to go from Florida to Arizona, spend a little time around Sedona, go up to Utah for about a month, and go up to Idaho. I would have seen you. I would have been in Idaho in April. We have friends that live in Coeur d'Alene, stay with them on their property. We were going to Colorado for about a month to stay at another friend's property in, I can't remember where in Colorado, Buena Vista, Colorado.
I love Buena Vista. It's like one of my favorite places on this planet. I love Buena Vista. Oh, you stop at Biggie's? Go to Biggie's. You got to go to Biggie's. Biggie's Sandwich Shop.
Sandwich Shop. All right.
Yes.
I'll have to write that. And my friends there, I'll tell them know about it. Yeah, they have a pad too. Like they lived in their fifth wheel and then they bought the land and did the thing, but they still have extra pads, full hookups. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it would be so cool. So that was kind of the plan. And then we had some family issues where my family that lives here in Florida, somebody got diagnosed with cancer, and then like, you know, Clint quit his job, and we knew that was going to happen. We like planned it ahead, and he gave them really long notice. But then we were like, is it wise to be all the way out west if something should happen? You know, maybe we should kind of do a little bit more on the, you know, on the East Coast or all that. So we shifted our plan, but like it was so cool because as soon as we shifted our plan, things just like came to us. Like this stay that we're at, we would have been in Arizona, not at this amazing stay, and we love it here. And I'm like collaborating with the campground owners because they're new owners and they want to know what campers like. And I'm like, well, I can tell you what I like. So like all these new opportunities are happening to us, but like, I don't know. I think the unexpectedness of plans changing has really helped me and a lot of people I've talked to with letting go of like feeling like they need to control their life, because none of us are in control of our life anyways. But like this life reassures you that, you know, that whatever's going to happen is going to, and you can't really plan everything out.
Life is what happens when you're busy making other plans.
There you go.
Said the late John Lennon, I believe. You can correct me on that.
Fact check.
Yeah, I believe it was John Lennon. It might have been one of the Beatles, but either way, yeah, I apologize to hear about the cancer. That's unfortunately a common thing, especially in the U.S. I think there's reasons behind all that, or, you know, not to be conspiracy theorist, but our food's not the best, not the cleanest. It just is what it is.
Totally. Yep.
Totally. But let's not dive too much into that. That's out. We get, yeah, you cut out there. I apologize. We can talk about that another time. Talk about wellness and, you know, eating properly and all that. But how about some gadgets and gizmos? Is there anything special besides your washer and dryer? You love that thing. What else would be there that you're like, I got to have these while I travel?
So yeah, the washer and dryer for sure. Florida, dehumidifiers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, honestly, anywhere. Texas, I mean, dehumidifiers for sure. Again, we're very mold aware and making sure that that's not going to happen. Then in relation to the dehumidifiers, so we have these like, what are they called? Like temperature monitors in every room that we've put. I can't think of the brand. If I think of the brand, I can tell you. But they will tell you what temperature and what humidity is in every room. So what's a common problem with the mid bunk, which is totally worth it for us, but everybody told us, and it's true, mid bunks, the actual mid bunk always has issues kind of regulating its temperature, either warmer or colder. So we put one of these little guys, we did a little like Velcro. It's like maybe this big. We have them in every room, but they're like Velcroed onto the wall. So in the middle of the night, if it's gotten cold and the heat kicks on, we can look on our app and see the exact temperature and humidity in like our kid's bedroom, right? So the mid bunk might be 10 degrees warmer than the rest of the house. And that's just kind of how mid bunks are. So the temperature monitors are awesome. We can also monitor that when we're not home, which is super helpful. And then that also tells you the humidity in each room, which is great. Here's a deal breaker I think everybody should have in their bricks and sticks or their RV is water leak sensors. They have saved our butts multiple times. Have you heard of those before?
No.
So they're little sensors that you can put anywhere. We have them all over the rig. There's like one right behind the toilet. There's one in the outdoor kitchen sink. There's one in the garage, like, you know, basement or whatever an RVer wants to call it, the storage areas. If there's any water or moisture that gets on these little sensors, they start beeping and then they send a text message to your phone. Standard RVers, I don't know anybody who hasn't had this problem before. You forget to pull the gray tank. Someone's in the shower. The washer and dryer's going. Somebody's doing laundry. And all of a sudden the shower starts backing up and you're like, oh no, pull the gray tank, right? So that happened to us, and the water sensors that we have will shut your water off when they get wet. So that has saved us from flooding our rig at least twice, maybe 3 times.
Wow. Yeah, that's a new one. I haven't heard of water leak sensors. I have to dig into that a little more.
And you can get them, bricks and sticks too, put them underneath your sink in your kitchen, as well. We've never had any leaks underneath our sinks. One time, one of the kids took a shower but didn't close the shower door all the way. We have the glass trifold doors, and the water got outside and seeped behind the toilet. So the water sensor went off on the toilet. Probably the biggest thing is the sinks. Because in our rig, our kitchen outdoor sink is the lowest point in the rig. So we have one that dangles inside of the sink. It lays over the edge of the sink, and it's got a little sensor on it. So if that starts to fill up because it's the lowest point, it'll start beeping and tell us, and it'll turn off the water. So then it's not going to flood the inside of the rig. It's going to flood the lowest point, which is the outdoor kitchen sink. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, definitely. I understand that. Interesting on that one.
Yeah, we love all the other things. We have tire minder, a TPMS tire pressure gauge when you're driving. We've never had a blowout yet. I know we're going to, but we haven't had one yet. It's probably just going to happen. And then we have the halo cameras where you can use to back up, which is great because we're 42.5 feet long. So having that halo camera is super helpful when you're getting into a tight spot, backing up and stuff. Trying to think if there's anything else. And then there's just things that kind of they just make it seem more like home. I have plants. I have plants all over my rig. I probably have, 15 different plants throughout my house. And they just make it feel more like home. I have, did you see when you were at the Tampa show, the glamp mats? They're the outdoor camping mats.
Yeah. I
have the white and black, tribal one. And whenever I put that outside, and then I have another one for inside of my tent, my Gazelle tent, it just feels homey. It feels more residential, I guess. The plants inside, the Glamp Life mats outside, they make any campsite I'm at feel more at home. I know it's not really a gadget, but that's something else I love.
We'll call it a Gizmo.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then gas stop. That's the biggest one, gas stop.
You just had a leak.
Yeah. So we met Martin. You met him, right? I know you interviewed him. Yeah. We met Martin, the founder of Gas Stop, and it was always on our to-do list. Even when we had a travel trailer, we remembered thinking, oh, we should do that. Oh, we should do that. Go do that. Every single person that uses propane, even if you're at home with a barbecue, you need a gas stop, hands down. Yeah.
He's going to love this. He's going to love that clip right there.
Not true. I know. That'll be a separate little promo for just him.
Yep. I'll tag him in it. Awesome. Well, Taylor, it's been wonderful talking to you. We've been chatting quite a bit lately, and I really appreciate that. Because some people are scared to talk to people. You're not scared to talk to people. I'm not scared to talk to people either. I actually really appreciate it, talking to people outside of my own job. Obviously, I have friends outside of job, but a lot of them, I got quite a few friends within here that I hang out with outside of work. But anyway, this is my last and final question for you. There might be one or two behind it just because, but this is the main question, right? And it sounds like you kind of answered it a couple different ways, or at least additives to it. But why did you choose to do this life? Why do you choose to stay doing this life? Why do you want to continue this life further into your future? Just overall, what's yours and Clint's why?
Yeah. So I think it started and then it changed, which is fine. I think we wanted to, create unforgettable shared experiences as a family. The American family doesn't usually statistically spend that much time together. Even though we were homeschooling and Clint worked remotely, we still spend way more time together now. So we wanted to share that, kids aren't always going to want to spend all their time with their parents, right? But our kids are at the age where they still want to be with us all the time. They don't have best friends that they can't live without, or boyfriends or girlfriends. So this season of life just seemed like we want to create those like core memories that are going to last a lifetime. We wanted to see more of our country. We wanted to kind of like, and then that changed and it's kind of morphed. All of that's still true. But now I feel like it's changed a little more into like, where do we want to live? Like one day, I think we'll always have an RV of some sort. But like, we have talked more about like, maybe in the coming years, like, do we want a homestead? Do we want to have a campground? We've actually thought about that too. Like it started off with, maybe we'd have land and a house somewhere, and then we have one pad for like our rig, or like maybe two pads for our friends that are still traveling. And then it turned into, I think I know what a campground would want. Like, I think I've only done this for a year. I'm not an expert by any means, but we've been RVing for 3 years. So we've kind of talked more and more about like in the future, should we like just buy this big old plot of land and like have a homestead on part of the acreage, have some recreation activities, and like have a campground? Like, I don't know. That's kind of, we've been talking about that more and more recently. So the why kind of morphed. It started off with like shared experiences, family togetherness, the freedom to do what we want to do when we want to do it. And it's kind of morphed now into like, this country's cool. It's awesome. And we want to see more of it, because I feel like the couple of states, I mean, I've lived in quite a few states, and Clint used to travel for his work, so he's seen more of it than me. But like, you still haven't seen even a portion of it. Like, you could travel your whole life, move every 2 or 3 weeks, and you'd still never see everything, you know? I think it's morphed a little bit more of like, maybe we'll find like our future homestead or our future campground. I don't know. We'll see. You can come camp when you get your van. You can come to my campground, maybe.
Van's there. I actually almost got pulled over. I got stereotyped last night in my van. I did not like it. It was bad. I was very nervous. I was like, this is stupid. It's an old Astro van, and he is like, we crossed. I actually turned. I'll tell you a story, because it was like anxiety through the roof. I was up till like midnight because I couldn't like calm down, because I don't like getting pulled over. I'd like the idea of getting in trouble just in general. Doesn't matter if I'm not even guilty, you know. It's like he just stereotyped my van. He literally, like, he caught up to me like 3 miles away. Like after I crossed him going across, like, here's the intersection, you know, like this. I went like this, and he was here, and he went the other way. And then he flipped the U-E. He turned around, but I didn't see him for like a mile and a half. And then all of a sudden he's turned on his lights to get around people after I turned to go another way. And then he was on me for like 3/4 of a mile, got right up on me, called in my plates. I turned left. He kept going. I'm like, dude, you gave me such anxiety for no freaking reason. I almost called and made a point, but happens to people every day. So just because of suspicion, I'm like, God, this is like, don't stereotype my van. Got a $2,000 van, but whatever. But yes. Yeah. Anyway, I would love to come camp with you guys. That's kind of the goal of this thing in the long term. This is kind of first year run. But there's going to be people coming out through the West, and if whoever's coming out here, if you guys see this coming through the West, coming through Boise, let me know. Anywhere around here within a couple hour radius, I will come see you, and we'll do it at your campsite instead of virtual. It'd be super cool. It'd be super fun. It'd be a good time to camp out and just kind of hang out. So, but the why, you said it's morphed. It's changed. It's the embracing of life as we know it. Life happens, and you're kind of just there for it to happen to you, which is very, it's commendable in that way. And it's actually really cool to hear that you're a free spirit like myself. And we got similar hair, kind of,
We do.
Not bad. We got great hair. Awesome, Taylor. Well, is there anything else you'd like to share before we close out here?
No, I just want to say that I've loved everything about following your guys' content. Like, I love it. And I can't wait to see kind of like how it morphs with you. Like, you're going to have so much experience too. Like, getting to interview all these full timers and getting all this like quality time. Like, you need to write a book. That's what you need to do. You need to write a book.
We're working on it. Shh, don't tell nobody. It's in the long-term plans, but I really do appreciate the compliments. I do. It's something that kind of morphed into me talking to manufacturers. Then it started talking to you guys, and then it started talking to people around the the RV space in general and camping. And I think we're going the right way, and I think it's going to turn out to be a great thing. But I am not the RV voice. The people that I talk to are the RV voice. So that being said, would you like to close it out for me?
Ooh, I get to. I feel so special. Yes, all the dreams. I'm here.
Do you know how to close it out?
Give me what your version is of it.
I got you. No, I'm gonna since everyone out there, you can't see that I can just text her.
Oh. Inside scoop.
Yep.
All right, let me see. Did it go through?
Don't read it out loud.
I don't see it. Let me see. Let me check.
No, I didn't text you. There's a private chat. Oh no, you left.
I'm looking at it. I don't see it. Let me see. Maybe it is. I don't think I'm technologically savvy enough to know. Let me see.
No, that's all right here.
No, all I have is the oh no, I get it. All right, are you ready? Stay tuned for more from the RV voice.
You got it. All right, everybody out there, stay tuned for more.